Hello there. Let's do this wide, huh? I've been living in Japan for 6 years now, and along the way, of course, I have made tons and tons of mistakes. Some of them, many of them, embarrassing, some of them small, a couple of them big, some of them a little expensive, and some of them very expensive. And today, I will tell you about the latter ones. One, so that you can make fun of me in the comments, and two, that you can avoid them. The first mistake is not buying 2-liter bottles of green tea. I'm kidding. The first big mistake I made in Japan, which was really expensive, was actually not something I did in Japan, but outside of Japan. I wanted to move here and I was married to a Japanese citizen. I still am. And because of that, I needed only a one-way ticket, I thought. One-way tickets were more expensive than round trips, so I bought a round trip with the return date somewhere in the future. Then at the airport, the kind people of the airline told me that my visa would not be valid anymore at this return date, which meant I could not go. Now, background for you, I had a tourist visa. I intended to change that in Japan into a spouse visa. A tourist visa for Germans is valid for 90 days. And because my return flight was about 9 months in the future, it didn't work. And the solution to that was to buy there and on the spot a return ticket inside of this validity range, which was 3,735 euros and 29 cents. That's the cost of coming to Japan if you are not doing your visa work properly. Now, thankfully, the airline people were not totally cruel and had me buy this ticket without anything. It was a cancelable ticket for a fee. So in the end, the fee was 60 euros, much better than 3,700 and something. But still, a lot of stress on the day of travel. My wife was already in Japan at the time, so it was definitely not my best check-in experience ever. I'm a little bit red. Let me change that. In Japan, interestingly, most fridges only open to one side. And that is from the left to the right. Let me clarify, of course they open only from one side to the other, not from both sides, and especially not at the same time, but you can also never change that. So even if you use tools and so on, you cannot move the thing from the door from one side to the other. So the side is fixed, and that is because most apartments and most houses are constructed in a way that only fridges that open from the left to the right are supported. Accordingly, why should the manufacturers do anything that's not necessary and include this option? Unfortunately, our apartment when we moved from Nagano to Yokohama was not like this. And just before moving, we had purchased a new fridge. And then when we arrived, the moving company unboxed our fridge. They told us, you know, we're sorry, but you can actually not open the door. That meant we had to call the electronics store, ask them if they take it back, and they told us if the box is already open, which the moving company did, then they can't take it. So that meant we had a fridge we couldn't use, had to get another one, and we also had, of course, to pay for 2 fridges. In the end, we gave one to my mother-in-law, who still uses it today, and we, as I mentioned, got the other one. Still though, this was an expense. One fridge, which is quite pricey, that I would have liked to avoid. While we're speaking of moving in specifically, in Japan is ridiculously expensive. You can expect to pay at least 1 month's rent in advance, maybe 2. You can expect to pay key money, 1 or 2 months rent, then a deposit 1 or 2 months, and maybe you also have to pay a guarantor company, which will be another 80 to 100% of 1 month's rent. There are a lot of months' rent worth of money you have to pay or deposit in advance. And it would be nice if it would be over then. However, if you do something like pinning things to the wall, that means you break them and they have to be repaired. And who's paying for that? Your deposit money. Also, after usually 24 months, your contract ends and you have to renew it. And what's happening then is you have to pay a contract renewal fee, which is 1 or 2 months worth of rent. I did know about the upfront cost when moving in, but I didn't know about the cost for extending your contract. And accordingly, first time this happened, I was less than pleased. Now you know about this, and there are companies out there that offer housing that does not need key money and contract extension payment and all that. For example, You Are Housing. Some of them are even to some extent geared towards foreigners and have English web pages and so on. And if you do that, then you will be much more lucky than I was and save a lot of money. Let me get something. The good old cheap green tea. When I started working in Japan, I had, let's say, 50k a year. That's not an actual number, but let's assume that. I had 50k a year. So from that money, of course, you pay rent, maybe you save something for your kids' education, for yourself, you go to lunch almost every day with your colleagues, you have a comfortable life. And then, in the second year of work, all of a sudden, somebody tells you that you have to pay an additional 10% of tax. And that is the city tax or residence tax, which is existing in Japan, and it is measured by your previous year's salary. That means in my first year of working here, of course, because it was my first year, this was then 0. But in the second year, it was 10% of my salary. So assuming I had 50k, all of a sudden, that's only 45k. And missing $5,000, 10% of your income, when you had already gotten used to this kind of money, may be a little bit of a rude awakening. So if you come here to eventually work in Japan and pay taxes, keep that in mind. Keep your savings a little lower, even in the first year if it's working out easily and smoothly. And then in the second year, you will not be surprised. Green tea, fantastic. I used to be kind of addicted to matcha latte, which is essentially available in every Starbucks or similar company in Japan. But it has obviously milk and sugar and is rather expensive. So now I've switched to this because no sugar. Green tea is still kind of beneficial against cancer apparently. And because it's in the 2-liter bottle, it costs like, I don't know, 10 cents a drink. Now should I show you some magic? I can enlarge my arms, look. Wow, so long. Okay. Whether you live in Japan or you are just traveling there, you have to live in hotels every now and then. Me, for example, I go to Tokyo maybe every other week and I have to stay somewhere, and that can be expensive. And initially I would go to business hotels or something, and the standard ones like Upper Hotel or so on have an okay service, an okay bed, an okay room, and the price is kind of okay. But there are way cheaper options. Now my favorite hotel, which I'm going to all the time right now, is called Tokyo Business Hotel, also a business hotel, but let me quickly show you how the prices of an upper hotel in the same area and this hotel compare. I checked today, which is a Friday, and for the upper hotel the cheapest price is 6,864 yen, so around $68. And for the Tokyo Business Hotel, the cheapest price is 3,780 yen, $37. Now there is a caveat, of course, and that is for the Tokyo Business Hotel, you will not have a bathroom, a private bathroom. There will be a bathroom, but it will be public. So there's a big bath, Japanese style, a sento, and then there you can shower and go into the big, very big bathtub and so on. But of course, if you are uncomfortable with strangers being around you and being naked, while you also are naked, then that's not the best option. However, you can also book a bathroom to the room. Then we are looking at 5,600 yen or $56, which is still $12 or so cheaper. Also, these are both in Shinjuku, which is a very central part of Tokyo. Other areas such as Nippori or Ueno tend to have much cheaper options. Of course, there are also capsule hotels. If you want to have, in my opinion, a really bad experience, then you should go there. I'm sure there are also good ones, but the one I have been to was not so pleasant. Speaking of that, maybe I should make a video about that. If you want to have that, let me know in the comments. And other options, of course, hostels and so on also exist. So you can stay in Japan for affordable rates, Airbnbs, cheaper hotels, cheaper hostels, and of course capsule hotels as well. The biggest mistake I've ever made in Japan was becoming a YouTuber and having to buy all of this camera gear.